Hey, I'm Ted Santos. I am your host of Straight Talk. You know, the talk show that's made for men by men. Even ladies don't want to miss our Straight Talk. And I always like to have conversations that I think will be valuable to men to understand relationships or even social challenges in life. And I want to have this conversation about submission. It's an important one. I wanted to do it a few days ago, except here in New Jersey, we had a storm and it knocked out electricity for my entire town. So we were for a couple of days without electricity. So here I am, and I want to discuss this topic of here's why women will never submit to you. And the short answer is she won't. And she won't because you keep asking her to. I mean, why would she submit in an environment that we have today? And I'm going to go through why she won't. But not only am I going to talk about why she won't, I'm going to then look at the flip side. So as we're looking at why she won't, simultaneously, we're going to be looking at the things that you need to do if you want any woman to submit to you. And you're going to have some real discernment about this. But I'm saying, I, I, I'm saying the overwhelming majority of women will submit to you if you create that environment for it. But if you are asking her, ain't gonna happen. So so uh, this is gonna be a little bit of a journey. So stay with me on this. I was listening to a guy named Buckminster Fuller, and Buckminster Fuller was talking about the first radio broadcast that took place, and he said that broadcast changed the family dynamics significantly. And he said before that radio broadcast, when your when your family sat at the dinner table, you learned the news or information about what happened in your neighborhood because your mom would go out and she would speak to other women in the neighborhood, and they would tell her what was happening with this family and another family, and you'd have all the information about your immediate environment. Well, when dad came home, dad, whether he went to the barbershop or work, wherever he went, dad would find out what was happening in the next town or even in the next state because he would speak to people who also ventured outside of their neighborhood and they exchanged information and news. So when the radio broadcast happened, the radio broadcast replaced your father because the radio broadcast was telling you what was happening outside of your neighborhood, and dad actually became obsolete just like that. When he came home, the information that you would once get from dad was being given by some guy on on the radio show who was now the authority, and so much of an authority that both your parents were sitting there tuned in to what they had to say. So why would you, if your parents are this authority and you submit to their knowledge and the news that they share to you, the need to submit to a man had started eroding at that time. However, as a boy, you still depend on your father for knowledge, right? So if you sit down with your dad, he's going to teach you something about being a man. And if you grow up without a father in a home, you may be depending very much on the media, perhaps your grandfathers or your uncles. Uh, they're not there on a daily basis. You have access to movies and the media, even books that give you these ideals about what it means to be a man. However, if you grow up with your father in a home, when you sit down with your dad, you are attentive. You're going to learn something about manhood that you just don't have as a boy. And so you're going to listen to your father. Your girls may be less likely to see the father that way because, for one, they expect to be taken care of. Yeah. So they may look more to their mother on what it's going to be like to be a woman. And for any woman that says, well, I have my own money, well, you know what? On a first date, how many women are having that attitude? I have my own money. I don't want you paying for dates. How many women are demanding that they get to pay for the first date or any dates? And then there are tons of women who, you talk about hypergamy. How many women are looking to marry a guy who makes much less than her so that she can pay all the bills? No, women are looking for a guy to take care of them. She wants the guy who makes much more than she does so that she has the option of not having to work. And if she does work, if he makes more, he can pay the majority of bills, if not all of them, that she can keep her money. So please, ladies, you're looking to be taken care of. Show me this group of women, not this one woman. Show me the group of women who are out looking for men who make much less than them. You won't find the club, the women's association of wanting men who make less than them. That association does not exist, at least in the United States. So women not only look for their mother as an authority figure, they also look to school at every level, primary and university and even postgraduate degrees. That's what they consider to be authority. Not you, buddy. Not even your father. He's a disciplinarian. So when you think that, think about it this way. You know, I've talked about the story of Adam and Eve. Women today are like Eve. They've bitten the apple, and now from the tree of knowledge, they've gone to college, and they can say, I don't need a man. I can have my own money. I now have knowledge. I went to school. I know better. And that's contributing tremendously to the culture that I don't need you. Therefore, I don't ever have to submit to you. I have knowledge. I have the knowledge that allows me to be financially independent of being submissive to a man. And that's what you're competing with, fellas. And women even claim that if they ruled the world would be a better place. Well, what they don't tell you is about the research where they look at queens who have ran countries without a king. The queens actually had more wars. There were more wars under the queen than under men. Men are more likely to sit down and have tough negotiations. Women will want to prove that they're tough, and they'd rather send men off to war. So it's a lie when women say there would be no fighting. There would actually be more wars according to research that's been done. The facts, the statistical facts of how many wars by men and how many by women, and how much men negotiated and resolved things, and how little women did that. So now that women have bitten the apple of knowledge, they're actually looking to reverse roles, even though they still want men to pay all the bills, right? They're reversing roles on you guys. Difficult to get them to submit. And when they go to school, they actually don't even learn about cooperation. So they'll reverse roles. And you guys are looking for submission, and you can't even get cooperation from them. So if you can't get cooperation, you can see that women are not learning submission, not in school, not from their mothers, not from anywhere. And since she has this bitten the apple and has the tree of knowledge, the knowledge in her mind, she's not even seeing you as an equal. She's seeing you as less than her. Unless you are the snake that convinced her to bite the apple, and that would be the bad boy. She has a very different relationship. The bad boy is the snake in the Garden of Eden who convinced her to bite the apple. Yet she still will see him as an authority figure. You wonder why ladies go after the bad boy, the snake, he can still persuade her to do things that are just completely irrational. Somehow she'll submit to the snake. So, with that understanding, you only get anything that resembles submission if you understand what she submits to. She submits to school. She does everything they tell her to do. So if you can be her intellectual superior, you have a much better chance of her submitting to you. But not only do you become an intellectual superior, it's got to be evident because she's still going to debate with you. She's still going to try and prove that she has bitten the apple of knowledge and she is better than you. I've seen women debate with me on topics that they never even heard of. I use neuroplasticity. The woman never even heard the word, didn't know what it was, and still wanted to debate with me about it. I mean, that just seems insane, right? So difficult to learn, except it's her fight to not submit. If I present myself as a bad boy, it's interesting how a woman will uh, be much more submissive to me. So, but if you are an intellectual superior, one of the things that you must do with your intellectual superiority is to strip her down to nothing. And I mean that. I'm not saying, like, I'm not talking about any kind of physical dominant force. Because if you don't strip her down to nothing, what she's going to do is she's going to bring everything that she learned from her mother, from the media, ex-boyfriends, in school, and none of those things have anything to do with cooperation. And she's going to attempt to force you to submit to her past, all those things, what her ex-boyfriend used to do, what they taught her in school. Even if it doesn't work, so women have been taught to uh, be submit to school and to follow the authority of school and women's issues. And they'll follow women's issues even if it's a lie or detrimental to society. So you literally have to strip those things down intellectually. Otherwise, she's not submitting to you. She's trying to reverse roles and get you to submit to her. And you can talk all the Bible scripture you want, and she'll intellectually understand it. And she may even tell you she goes along with it. She'll undermine you because that's what she's been taught. So if you think about it, I just gave you keys to getting a woman to submit. And it's really not that difficult if you think about it. Well, if you think about it this way, what a lot of women don't realize, they don't realize the limits of their education. You go to college, I don't care how many degrees you have, it doesn't mean you know everything. And it doesn't mean that you know how to comport yourself in a way that's always conducive in your best interest. I mean, if you're going to follow women's issues that negatively impact society, your education didn't give you the reasoning skills and the ability to see patterns that you're actually hurting yourself. So she has limits that she doesn't see. And that's why I say if you're intellectually superior, she will eventually submit if you have the balls to strip her down and not be afraid of being called a sexist or a misogynist or any other ist. You have the manly right to strip her down to nothing. So the other thing is, if you look at women as water, many of you have heard Bruce Lee talk about be like water, my friend. Water can be formless and be anywhere and everywhere. it can create peace, it can destroy, but water takes form in something that contains it. And if you understand that women emotionally, they fluctuate like water. And they really do look for a man to be a rock, like an emotionally stable person in their life that stops them from being like water and just be all over the place. So if you understand that women crave structure, that's what school represents. Going to school is structure. They do everything to get the good grades, the 4.0, to get a star, to be a good student, and they'll go work for an organization that has structure. You don't see women inventing new industries because a new industry has no structure. No one knows what it's going to be when you're making it from nothing. It's too risky. So women crave structure, which means that's an opportunity for you as a man to create yourself to be a structure that contains women. Now, if you create yourself to be a structure that's made of paper or even cardboard, she's going to eat you alive. And she's going to eat right through you and destroy you. You'll never be able to contain her if you're made of cardboard. And if you're made of steel, well, she's going to cause you to rust, and then you'll eat yourself alive and you'll destroy yourself, and she'll just rip right through you anyway. So you're going to have to think about creating yourself as a man, as a powerhouse, whether you're made of gold or porcelain or titanium, platinum, you're made of something that water cannot destroy and over long terms, and it can contain the water and support the water for what you want the water to do. You can even be a pathway made of gold, and the water will stay within the lines of that gold. If it's rust, it will eventually, if it's steel, it will rust it and destroy it. Same if it's made of cardboard, it will eventually destroy the cardboard and go everywhere. So if you're porcelain, our toilets are made of porcelain, and it contains the water over decades. So you're going to have to develop yourself to be able to contain a woman. If you want her to submit to you as a container, and she'll take the shape of you as a container. Otherwise, she's all over the place, and she'll try and reverse the role and get you to accommodate her being all over the place. So, also, you as a man, here's another reason she won't submit, is because you as a container chose dirty water. And a lot of, if you look at a glass where all the dirt has settled at the bottom, it looks like the water is clean. But if you look really closely, you'll see the dirt there at the bottom. So a lot of you guys need really strong discernment to be able to distinguish clean water from dirty water. Even though it looks clear, the dirt is at the bottom. That means you're going to have to listen and look and really pay attention. Some of the ways that a woman could be dirty water, and so you may want to, some of you guys are afraid to stir up the dirt to see what's there, right? Some women could have something at the bottom that could be nutritious for you. But if you can't distinguish between nutrition and dirt, then you're going to end up being a container for dirt. And that's what you're going to have. So, if you're not afraid to stir her up to see what's really there, you're going to be so afraid of her getting upset with you and walking away, or getting upset with you and denying you sex, that you're just going to be at her whim. You will actually be submitting to her. So let her get upset. You know why? Because she's going to show you who she really is. And some of the women who I would say have dirt, and this one is really unfortunate, if a woman has been raped or molested at a young age, that's unfortunate. And any pedophilia, any man who rapes a woman, that I have no respect for that, because you really damage this woman possibly for all of her life, unless she's really done the work to deal with that. And not time doesn't heal anything. It makes it worse. So she's got to deal and completely confront it. Like, go through it. She has to confront it, like create a breakdown. This part in front of your hand is a breakdown, and the back part is the breakthrough. So she has to go through it. And if she hasn't, you deal with a woman who's been raped, you essentially will have to be her psychologist. And if you don't have the tools and the knowledge to do that, she's going to destroy your life, and you'll eventually be that piece of cardboard that she just rips apart. And your life will be a disaster for it. A woman who grows up without a father, that's more dirt, especially if she has siblings and they all have different fathers. And she knows nothing about cooperation. She may not even really understand structure, even though she goes to school and she may acquiesce and do whatever they tell her to do. What her real core foundation does not understand structure or cooperation. And you stir that up, you'll see a big mess that you don't want to be in. Women who use sex as a weapon, that's dirt that you just don't want. See, sex is the most intimate thing people can do together. And if she's willing to play with the most intimate part of a relationship, then she'll play with your life or anything else. You want to get rid of her immediately. These are women that you just don't want in your life. Because this idea of submission won't happen, because they have too much dirt going on in their life for them to ever be able to submit. So looking at them as a project, or you being Mr. Fix-It, you'll end up missing out on more important things in your life. So you decide who's in your life, if you're going to be that container for water. And I strongly urge you to avoid dirty water. So what else do I want to say? So ultimately, I'm saying you will need to be decidedly superior intellectually to all women. And as a rule, most women, they don't effectively even engage in conversation. They use manipulation when they believe they have to be right about things. However, if you have a steady mind, that won't matter to you. If you have a steady mind and you're knowledgeable, she's going to respect you. And she needs that steady mind, because like I said, if she's like water. Except a lot of guys are told, self-improvement, develop yourself, get a hobby. But developing a steady mind is no different than an athlete. An athlete who wants to be really good in a sport has to train the sport, has to also train his body and train his mind, if you want to be extraordinary at whatever that athletic competition is. And I think a lot of men don't understand the necessary training that goes into having that steady mind. But having a steady mind is not about you training for a woman. This is about you training for your life, so that you can have fulfillment in your own life. So, it's an accomplishment to go through training and have a steady mind. Just like it's an accomplishment to develop and have a strong body, right? That's a sense of accomplishment. But with a steady mind and knowledge, it makes you more valuable, not only to yourself, but to your employer, to your clients. It makes you more valuable, and that being more valuable to others who know how to leverage that and find you useful and valuable, that gives you a sense of accomplishment. You don't even need a woman in your space to do that. This is your life, and you developing and creating your life to be fulfilling. And when you do that and you meet a woman who actually qualifies to be in your life, you also make her earn it. So, remember, we're still talking about why women won't submit. So if you haven't become that guy who's accomplished, and whether it's a hobby, whether it's your career, whether it's travel, if you're not doing these things to have your own self-satisfaction, why would a woman submit to you? Like I said, if you're intellectually superior, you have knowledge and a steady mind, she's more likely to submit to you. If you're not out doing these things, she's not. She's just not going to do it. You can ask her and read all the Bible scripture you want, but in her mind, you don't represent the support structure for her to submit to. So if she does qualify, you make her work for that. You don't just turn yourself and your life over to her. She's not the prize. See, a developed man with accomplishments, you're the one who makes the relationship great. And sex is mutual. And as I said, if she plays with sex, uh, she didn't earn your time. And besides that, if you let a woman play with sex or put you into a submissive position, you're actually you're destroying your own self, right? So you're accepting less for yourself, which means you're going to accept less from the rest of the world. And it's going to be difficult for even the business world to appreciate you as having something valuable to offer. There are lots of guys out there who make six figures. They make plenty of money, except their wife or even their girlfriend knows how to rule them because that guy hasn't developed himself. He's gone to school. He has very specific expertise, and someone is willing to pay him for that. And they put him in a position to be valuable for that expertise. But he's not valuable anywhere else because he hasn't developed himself as a person, as a human being. It's even beyond just manhood. And a steady mind is really a part of that. And I think a lot of guys overlook that. I make money, I have the nice car, and you all believe a woman is going to submit to that. But as I said, is that steady mind becomes that container for water to know its place. And if you haven't done that, if you took shortcuts, then you're cardboard, and she'll eventually just bust right through you. So, in conclusion, I'm saying, I'm really not saying you need to dominate a woman. And just hear me clearly. I'm not saying to dominate a woman. I'm saying that if you allow a woman to lead you, she's going to take you down a roller coaster path that ends on a dead end. So it's you that needs to express and exude power that's going to have her actually take pleasure in submitting to you. Because as water, she'll have a place where she can safely be contained and taken care of, as opposed to it being made of paper and she just falls out and she's all over the place. Women don't want to be all over the place. They know that. So as I've said already in other videos, that means you create boundaries. And the biggest part of this video is about you developing yourself. Hobbies are great, your job is important, except there's a mindset that has to go along with that. And as I said, there are guys out there making money, and they still don't have a steady mind. So developing yourself is never about her. It's always about you. The same skills that you develop, they not only affect your job, they prepare you for being a better father. And you teach your children to be able to cooperate and have happy lives. Because if you don't, your children, male and female, are going to be like water, and they're going to be all over the place. They're going to be unfulfilled. Will have no understanding of structure. So it's a father's job to teach children. Statistics already show that children who grow up with their father in the home are better problem solvers and have higher IQs. So I'm really advocating the development of yourself as a man, even if you go the surrogate route and just pay a company to have a woman have your child, and you raise these children as your own without a mother in the house. I'm really promoting you being a good, solid man who has discernment. And with being a good, solid man, women, they can smell that. And they're more likely to submit to that because they believe they're going to get something out of it. Intellectually, they'll be taken care of. They're going to learn from you. They know that intellectually and with a solid mind, you have a better chance of being successful out in the workforce. So their hypergamy kicks in. And they're going to know if they want that lifestyle, there's a level of submission. At the same time, you cannot be afraid to strip her down to nothing. And that, I don't mean that in an abusive way. I mean that you're stripping her past down, that all she has left to develop with you is you. No comparison of her boyfriend or ex-husband, whatever it is, that's irrelevant to you. Whatever her mother told you or grandmother, all of that is, for you, that's irrelevant. Anything she learned from her father about men only want one thing, that's irrelevant. You want to strip that down to nothing. And now she's forced to only develop a relationship with you, not with you and her past in bed with you. And technically, you have a right to do that as a man. And if you're letting a woman do that to you, good luck, brother. So like my video, share it. Uh, Join me on Patreon. I'll put the links for if you'd like to support me, Cash App, PayPal. Check me out on Patreon. I have some videos over there that you will not find here on YouTube. Some of them have been live and some will be the result of research. I'd like to hear your thoughts and comments. And if for you guys who really have stripped women down, chime in. Give guys another perspective on the importance of being able to do that and comfortably, like stand in your manhood as being powerful and not afraid to strip a woman down to nothing. So guys who have done that, give some comments. If I left something out here, guys, add it in the comments. And if you don't like what I said, tell me why. Share the video, like it, and I will see you very soon. Join me on Sunday evenings at 7 on Straight Talk, and we will have a great provocative time talking about something that most people don't discuss. Until then, take care. Good